Hello. It's a new day. It's a Thursday. Thursday? Thursday. Yes, it is Thursday. Let me move my mic over a little bit. Try to get it in a good place. That should hopefully be fine. Hi everybody, my name is Bear. I am barely watercoloring. That much is obvious. I'm back. It's been a whole couple days. I was last on Monday. Let me switch to scene so you can see what's going on. I was last online on Monday. I was testing a brand new set of metallic watercolors. It is this set right here. I don't know how to pronounce their name. Arteza. We'll go with it. It is this right here. Focus. There we go. Yep, it's a metallic and iridescent watercolor set. It's got 12 different colors. It shows them on the back. This very much won't want to focus, but I'll try. I'll get close and see if it works when I pull back. Sometimes that works. No? Yeah? Focus? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, almost focused. And it shows the... Well, it was focused and then it decided to go to hell. Regardless, there's 8 metallics over on the left. I'll just say what they are. It is a diamond white, silver, Mars black, powder blue, lime green, gold, metallic deep gold, and copper, and then 4 iridescent colors. Those are the ones that kind of like pearlescent paint jobs on cars where they kind of shimmer between 2 different colors. The first one is jasmine yellow, then sea green, plum purple, which I really liked, and strawberry red. So let's look at what they look like. It came with these 2 swatch cards on black paper and white paper. So you can see what they look like on both sets. And some of them are actually quite different depending on the paper or the value we'll go with. How bright, how dark the background that they're applied onto is. Some of them dramatically different. For example, I think... Which one was... Oh, this one on the top right here, 724. Yeah, so this one here on the far right is jasmine yellow. And that's jasmine yellow. So on 2 completely different colors of paper, they look completely different. This one on the black paper looks more yellow, like it implies, and the one on the left is more of like a bluish kind of jasmine color. All of the iridescents tend to do that same thing, which I think is really cool. So that got me thinking last time, how would these work on a nebula painting? So that's what I'm going to do today. 1 for sure, 2 if I can squeeze it in there. My goal is to do very much like this was done last week on black paper, do a nebula on black paper, because I've never done that before, because standard watercolor wouldn't really show up on this well. At least not by itself. And then, if that goes well and I have time, I am going to do a similar thing on white paper, but I'm thinking, based on these swatch cards, the metallics don't really show as well on white paper. It does, but it doesn't show as well. I think it works better when it's on top of something dark, so why not give it something dark? I'm thinking I'll do like a traditional nebula painting like I normally would do, try to get some of the areas really nice and dark, and once they fully dry, use some of the metallics that make sense for those shades that match, and put them on top of it to give it kind of like a shimmery, dusty look that I don't normally get from standard watercolor. So that's my goal. The black paper one I'll definitely get done today, and then depending on how long I'm on at that point, I'll decide if I want to start the one on white paper. I figured that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to keep these to the side just so I can kind of get a view on what colors are what, so I can decide which ones I'm going to want to play with. And then get some paper and tape it down and get started. So I'll leave this to the side. This was like a circles experiment with all of the metallics, just to kind of show what they would look like when they were done and how they would shimmer in the light, and it does. It's really pretty. Somebody on Instagram suggested that it looks like tribbles from Star Trek, which I absolutely love and appreciate. They absolutely do. I bet making one genuinely to look like tribbles would be even better. Something like this where you're looking from the top down. So maybe to get some depth, we can do some watercolor tribbles with basic watercolors underneath and a very light amount of the metallic. Let that dry and then do a whole separate layer of bright metallic just like this, so that it looks like there's a layer beneath it, right? So that'll be cool for the future, but that's not today. So let me move this and get some paper. Got the same black paper like before. One thing I did absolutely find with this paper is it says that it's watercolor paper, but it treats a little bit more like construction paper. It's kind of interesting. It's not bad. It just it kind of falls apart when it gets wet and I pull the tape off of it. So I'm just gonna have to be really careful when I use it, and perhaps to make life a little easier, I may end up having to use the heat gun on the tape just before pulling it up to kind of like melt, heat up, re-gunkify the glue so it doesn't hold onto the paper as bad. I'm hoping that'll maybe make it peel off a little better. Alright, let's tape this down. Last time I very much found that taping on this black paper was difficult because it doesn't let you see the edge of the paper really well. So I will do the best I can. In fact, let me try to get closer to the edge. Yeah, that's alright. Alright. For anybody interested, today is the second day that I am trying multi-streaming. So I am streaming, last time I streamed to 5 different sources. I decided to limit that to 3 this time. I am currently streaming on Twitch, which is my main location where I stream. I'm also currently streaming on YouTube and Instagram, both in a vertical landscape, or vertical format. Portrait is what I was trying to say there. So if you are there, greetings. I typically stream on Twitch primarily, so if I'm ever online, I'm always on Twitch, and then now sometimes elsewhere. So YouTube, apparently the vertical format will automatically be streaming on their shorts channels, which, okay, cute, it's a thing. But I don't do shorts content because I would have to take everything I do and edit it down, and I don't really like spending my entire life editing. That sounds really, really boring to me. Other people love it. It's not to say I haven't edited stuff before. Not like, you know, bouncy, you know, crazy, ridiculous YouTube edits like all these people tend to like nowadays. Just basic editing, just to make a clean video. But I don't know. I don't really have that much of a drive to want to do some bouncy, peppy, itchy, look at me, short form video. I just don't like that idea. And honestly, I'm not tutorial bear. I'm barely watercoloring. If I wanted to be perfect and be training people, I would have chosen a different name. My name is quite accurate to what I'm doing. I have no designs at all on wanting to be a teacher, a trainer. I don't expect people to learn the right way to do things from me for this. I'm learning as well. I've been doing this I've been painting for over a year now, with no formal training at all. That much is obvious. And I do it exclusively for fun. I'm not here to make money. I'm not here to, again, train people. If you learn from this, or you get an excitement or a draw, a desire, a drive, an ambition to want to paint, I'm thrilled. Because that's how I felt when I started and I saw some people watercoloring, and it scratched an itch that I didn't know at the time that I had. I was going through some stuff with work. I needed an outlet. Painting was that outlet. It helped. I appreciate it, and I want to give back by just doing what I like. Alright, so taping is done. I've got the back of the package ready so I can remind myself of the names of them as I use them, but I also... there was like a tape wrapper around all of the paints, all of the pans, and so I pulled them off and cut out the name portion and taped it next to the paint. Clearly it's not going to focus because it hates me, but yeah, it's never going to focus, but yep, next to each one is its name. All four of the bottom right ones are the iridescent colors, so they're going to shimmer really nice. I'm going to scoot all of that over here. I think let me start with just metallics on this one. I think I'm going to do only metallic on this because I don't know that these will show up fully, so I'm going to set these to the side for now since they're dry. I'll come back to my main set, my main palette later. But yeah, we're going to use this. We'll go ahead and wet those down here in a moment and get some little palettes ready to the side so I can make myself a little well of metallic magic. If you are new to this, so watercolors, when you get them in pans, they're dry and solid, and you have to rehydrate them or activate them using water. So I tend to use just a little clear spray bottle that I found on Amazon. It works really well. I got a multi-pack with like 2 different sizes, and it seems really handy for spraying water when you're painting. Some people spray them directly on their paper, which we can try at some point, but I just like using it to rehydrate my palettes and activate the paint. If you have paint in tubes, you can paint directly from the tube if you want. It's a little bit more concentrated, because you can't help but pull off way more than you really and truly need to have transparent watercolor. That's why I like, even in my traditional palette, I like putting wet paint in the palette, letting it dry and harden, and then it goes a really long way. It lasts forever. Very similar to like traditional like children's or student, I wouldn't even call it student grade, I would call it children's grade watercolors. I have some over here, hang on. There we go. This set right here, I've never used. I got it from, I think, IKEA. It's a really beautiful, gigantic set. Got a lot of colors in it. But it doesn't always, from what I've seen, lend itself well to mixing. It can work. I'm just waiting for the day when I feel like I'm confident enough with the quality paints or mid-grade paints to try to experiment with making something nice with something cheaper. I don't want to go into, making a supposedly beautiful painting when I don't know how to even make a beautiful painting fully, using different quality materials until I'm prepared for that. So I have this at the ready, but these come dry just like these pans come dry, and like the ones that I made myself and let dry, it comes dry and you have to hydrate them before you use them. The children's ones, I think not so much. I think it's meant for you to just whack at it with a wet brush and just go to town. But with better quality paints, you want to activate them. Sorry, just putting this up. you want to activate them so that at least the top layer becomes hydrated and kind of tacky, like really, really, really thick. It just permeates the tiniest top layer of it, but it's enough that when you go to it with your paintbrush and a tiny bit of water, you instantly pull an even quantity of the pigment up. Whereas if you went to your dried pans or your dry palette directly with water on your brush, you'll have to scrub for a little bit, not long, but just a little bit to be able to get any pigment off and onto your brush. So you have to work at it more. And I think it's not as even, like consistent. That's the word I'm looking for. You can expect more consistency when you activate your paints and come to use them frequently. You'll know more what to expect once you get used to it. Am I there yet? No. No. I was saying that really low and I got a little frog in my throat. Drink some coffee if you got it. All right. Let's get started. So, since this is the second time I'm using these metallic paints and I'm painting on black, which is like the third time I've ever tried painting on black paper, this is an experiment for me too. So, I'm going to go big and bold. And I think to be smart, I'm going to try to end up doing wet on wet. Wet on wet technique is just what it sounds like. You put a veneer of water on some part or all of the paper. If you're going to do like a top to bottom wash, or what I'm about to do with making a nebula in random places, I'm going to do the whole page and do a small amount of water on the whole thing so that when I bring paint to it, it'll want to spread and bloom more. If you do wet on dry, it's just what it sounds like. You're doing wet paint on dry paper, and so surface tension and the dry paper is going to prevent you from going beyond where you touch it with your brush, or if you put it on really wet, where it drips or spreads to just from what you got on the brush. But on wet, it'll allow it to spread more than just the area where you put the brush down. So it gives you a lot more pretty, blendy, blooming effects. I very much like the bottom 2 rows of this test card. That was done by painting the metallic and iridescent paints on thick. On the top part of that rectangle, painting water on the bottom part of the rectangle, just plain water, and then going back over the middle to join the upper portion where the paint was and the lower portion where it was just clean water, and you can see how it spreads into the area that was wet. I didn't do that. It did it on its own. With very little prodding and poking, it was able to bloom and spread into those areas. So you can see we're doing wet on wet is really where you want to go when it comes to nebula. You want it to look gaseous, cloudy. That's going to be the way to do it, I think. Now, the question becomes, this is black paper. I normally work on white paper, and on white paper, keeping in mind that watercolor is transparent, you want to start very light with how much pigment you do. More water, less pigment, less paint, so that you can form a very thin, very transparent part of the colors you want to put down to make it look light, right? So you're going to leave some white on the paper. You're going to start with a very thin amount of the paint to try to get it really bright and light in those areas, and you should technically let it dry, then go back over it again, wet on wet, and you can touch up all the areas that you want to be darker or more cloudy or more rich, and then let that dry and come back again and do as many layers as you want. You can just go on for quite some time and just dry and add layers. I sometimes most of the time get really impatient, and I jump right to doing multiple layers all at once without letting it dry, or I'll use my heat gun, which is off screen, to dry it forcibly so that I can get on with it. Otherwise, we'll be here for 5 hours versus 2.5, right? So I think I'm going to get started. I think to start, just for fun, because I've not used this before, beyond these swatches in the painting I did on Monday, just playing with circles. I've never done a nebula before on black paper, let alone with metallics. So I'm just going to pick a random color. I think I'm going to do this powder blue. And I'm going to, well, in vertical mode you can't see it too well, so I think I'll scoot this over a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. And I'll bring the metallics over where you can see them. Alright. And the only thing you're not going to be able to see too easily, I suppose I could, is putting a palette down. I'll go ahead and use this one. And I'm just going to bring some of this into my palette over here, just to give it somewhere else where I can work with it. Since this to start with is going to be thin, I'm just going to put it here and then add some water to it. Alright, we've got ourselves a really pretty swirl of color in there. I don't know how well that will show up on camera, but we can lift it and look. Right now it's just reflecting light, but you can just barely start to see some of the shimmering metallic look in there. That's not just poorly mixed, that's the metallic portion of it. Alright, so I think I'll go ahead and I'll do a secondary color and get that ready to go as well. It's always good to kind of stage the paint that you're going to do in your mixing wells, so it's ready to go. I have found that it's good to prepare more than you think you're going to use, because if you need to use more of it, getting the exact same value out of it when you remake it is almost impossible. It's best to make a whole lot of what you're going to be using so you can go back to it and it be the same shade, the same value, right? So I'm going to add a little bit more. And I'll add a little bit more of the pigment to make it a little bit stronger. Let me clean off my brush a little bit. And let's pick on the green next to it, because blue and green go together really nicely. And I think I'll add some water to this first. And just so you know, that first one was a powder blue. This one is a lime green. So I'll try to get a good amount on my brush, because it's going to thin out when it hits the water. Let's get a little bit more. Alright. I think that's enough to start, at least for our first layer. So, wet on wet, right? Let's go ahead and get some water down on this paper and see how it reacts. I have not done a full wash of water on this black paper yet. Actually, I've got a bigger brush for this. This one right here, 1.5 inches. Yep, 1.5 inches Princeton Mottler brush, Aqua Elite, with a little bit of white spots on it from when I've made stars in the past. Whoops. Right, and I'm just going to get some clean water, and I'm just going to hit the paper and just go across the top and work my way down. I'll start just by going back and forth, left to right, And then I'll do a couple passes up and down just to kind of even it out a little bit so I don't have puddles of water. And please let me know, since I don't typically multi-stream on other platforms than Twitch, if you cannot hear me, or if the music that's playing in the background, if you can even hear it at all. Is it too low? Is it too loud? I just like to have some like mellow music in the background when I can help it. And keep in mind too, I can only really see the chat from YouTube and Twitch. The chat from Instagram I can find, but I have to navigate to get to it. Okay, I think that's enough. I'm going to let that sit for maybe 30 seconds to a minute to kind of settle. I'll leave this mottler brush nearby. Speak of the devil, this is a good time for me to take a look at Instagram really quick. Hi to anybody who's hanging out there. Appreciate you being here. All right. So I think what I will end up doing is I'll pick a section and I'll have it be mostly blue. I'll pick another section, let it be mostly green, and let it kind of flow where it meets in the middle. Maybe do a yin and yang kind of thing. We'll see. And let it dry completely. I'll pull over my pull out my my brain because it doesn't want to work. Pull out my heat gun and dry it manually. And then we'll re-wet and hit it with another pass, maybe a little darker. And just kind of build from there. Okay, I think we let it sit enough. If I let it sit too long, it'll dry way too much. So let's go ahead and try with some of our powder blue. I'll mix it really quick, and then we'll just start hitting some areas with it. It won't be too strong. It's meant to be a thin layer to start with. On white paper, that's kind of how you want to do it. Start light and then work your way up. But I think we're going to need to make our own brightness on black paper. We're probably going to need to start with a darker color here in a minute, and then we can add lighter color paints on top of it, kind of like you would with almost everything except for watercolor. Watercolor is the only one I know of that works in reverse, where you have to start with it transparent and light, and then leave those areas alone and branch out and do darker things on top of it. Yeah, that almost looks like nothing was done. So I'll just kind of pop some on here in a couple spots. You don't want it to be too wet. I'm already starting to do that. It looks pretty on the paper where it settles and makes the metallic ripple a little bit. Let's try some of the green. Yeah, that's a lot more visible. Might have dropped a tiny bit of the green into the powder blue. That's fine. Just preparing this this well to have a little bit more of a strong powder blue in it. Clean that off, get some more of the lime green in the lime green well. let's pull out the heat gun and get this paper dry really quick. All right. Well, this is already starting to look nice with just that thin amount. I didn't realize that so much of it was going to pop just from such a thin amount. It's actually really striking already as it is, just that. So we may be able to get away with 1, 2 more layers at most. I don't want to cover up all of the areas of darkness because it's going to be hard to add some on top of it. But I think we can hit it with another layer and see what happens. So let's do that. I've already darkened these up. I think I'm just going to do wet on dry. And just add some areas with extra pops of that color. All right, and let's get some of that green. Get some of that pure color right from the pan. And for fun, let's pick on one of our iridescents so we can get some really different colors in here. We'll add some in different places. I don't want to do too much. I'm going to stop there. Let that sit for a minute and do nothing to it. Let it kind of spread into each other. Maybe even scoot some of this to the side. Pick this up and move it a little bit. It's not very wet, but just get it to kind of shift and move a couple different directions. You can just kind of move this around a little. Looking good so far. Let's go ahead and hit it with a heat gun. Alright, it's looking really pretty. Curious. There is a black metallic on here called Mars Black. I wonder how that would look on top of some of these. Will it bring back some of it? Let's try to add some of this on top in some places. Just going wacky, just seeing what it does. Up there and dry it and see what it does. Probably just a giant mess. Never know. This is who I am, abstract bear. I just kind of do what I want. not bad. Well, I think there's only one thing left that I could do on this. That'd be nice. Why don't we put some stars on it? I didn't leave a tremendous amount of dark space in there. Normally I'd add indigo, but I don't know how that would work on this. It might not be all that great. I can probably try that again in the future, but I think I could probably just throw stars on here and call this one, and then I can work on the white sheet of paper that I was going to do earlier, or do later. I think we can do that. And I think I can use a white that's on this. There is a diamond white metallic on here. I think that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to wet the pan and get it kind of thick, and then have it on my smaller round brush. And I'm just going to thwack it a couple times on top of the handle of this larger brush to let it shake loose some of those dots. The other method that I use is using a toothbrush, but that tends to go everywhere way more than this method does. So I think I will just stick with this for now. And just try to get a nice thick white watercolor mixture going. I tend to use acrylics for stars because watercolors tend to thin out, but I'm hoping that these metallics will hold up better as stars. We'll see. Alright, I've got a good section going. Let's try it out. Our brush is on. Let's dry. Alright. I think that's about as dry as it's going to get. Go ahead and peel this puppy. Yeah, even doing it while the tape is warm and the glue is more damp, you can see where this paper comes off more on the tape. So let me get this off of here quickly. Some of that might be because that area could be damp, like it might have gotten water on it and it seeped through the fibers under the tape. If I left it here overnight and then came back and hit it with a heat gun, it might come off cleaner. I don't know. I can try that in the future as an experiment. For now, I just make sure the tape is warm so the glue comes off, and just move slowly. Peeling quickly will make things tear. Peeling against the edge of the paper will do it too, so I try to always peel away at an angle. Some of that is clearly because this is still damp, I think. Alright. Well, that's one. It's cute. You definitely see the shimmer in it when you turn it. I think I went a little heavy-handed on it. But still, it's kind of cute. It's got a bunch of different colors. It's got some blues. Got some yellows. Got a hint of a little reddish kind of in there from that blue. That blue one, it's like a purple blue. So it's nice. Scoot this guy to the side and let's get some white paper ready. And move our palette because we're going to be using it, but we're going to be using my primary palette. So let me scoot this out of the way. This guy over here for a minute. Right. Move heat gun out of the way. Let's get our palette. Go ahead and spray it and get it hydrating, activating, whatever you want to call it. And our paper. Bigger sheet of paper than the last one. The last one, I actually don't know. It's, it is 8 inches by 10 inches. That's a pretty interesting shape. 8 by 10. 8 by 10. Why is that familiar? Is that a photo size? I think 8 by 10 is a photo size. That's probably why. Because you can find frames for it. Okay. This one is 9 by 12. It's my standard size that I like to use. It's going to be loud. Yep, always. And let me grab my paper cutter. 1 second. Go. This guy out of the way. Same as before, let's break out the tape. Get this tape down. Not perfect, but close enough. Do the bottom section. Almost didn't pair that one long enough. Good. So, what are we going to do here? Well, probably going to do something lighter than how the other one came out. Because it was black, and because of the colors and metallic I used, it's just, it's silver, it's blue, it's yellowish. It doesn't have as much color as I was hoping. So, this time I think I may use... Yeah, still thinking, but a red for sure. Maybe a copper color. Might want to use that purple pretty heavily as well. So we need some base colors to go underneath it. This is what it all looks like on white. So to get a good set of colors, I think 707 I think is copper, and this is that strawberry red. I think I'm probably going to go definitely this purple, and I think the red. I like how those two look. And I may add some of this lighter colored one as well. But I need some base colors underneath it. So I'll try to find something similar on my palette over here that I can thin down and put in some spots. So let's look at big brush. So for red, I take some of what's already here in the palette. Just do some fun little sections of color and just kind of hit it. I'm just doing wet on dry just because. Alright. And we need a purplish color, and I just happen to have one up here. Okay. And I wanted to do this kind of bluish colors. 724 says it's an iridescent. It's the jasmine yellow. So I'm going to do that one, so I can probably hit a hint of a yellow. And just do a little bit of this and let it blend in the middle, let it turn into what it's going to turn into. Get it all scratchy and weird. Put a little bit of that in there. And then, yeah, let's start hitting it with my favorite. Let's do some indigo. Try to do it thin, so I'm going to use this big well over here and fill it up with a lot of water. also tend to have a really bad habit. I did not clean that brush enough. Let me fix that. I tend to surround my nebulas with nothing but indigo and cut off the edges of the paper. I don't want to do that this time. Probably gonna need to clean my water. I think that's pretty good. Let me go ahead and mix up some of the metallics just to get them ready. And the purple. Okay. Got a little bit of all of them going. Clean that off. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and hit these with a little bit more of the regular watercolor paint, just to darken up some of the areas, and let that dry, and then I'll hit it with the iridescent paints and see how it goes. So let me get a little bit more of my yellow and just kind of hit a couple areas. Let's get some of our red from over here. And our purple. And let's hit a little bit more of our indigo. Try to blot some of these and make the edges not so obviously round. I'm doing the thing again. I'm boxing it in. Try to add a little bit of color in the outer areas around all of these. Okay, let's let this dry so I don't mess with it more. This time I'll use the heat gun. Okay. I think what I'm going to do next is something that looks crazy. I'm going to grab my modeler brush and I am just going to do a very quick let that sit for a second. while that's happening, let me darken up some of my indigo. And hit all the areas that need some darker indigo. Let's go to our metallics. We got some purple. And let's hit some of that jasmine yellow. Last up, some of that strawberry red. Lift this a little bit. Okay. It's dry. Okay. Now, how is this doing? Let's look. Well, it definitely needs more of the indigo to darken up the areas that need to be dark. But everything else, I think, can probably be left alone. Let me mix up some more indigo. Let's dry this hot mess. All right. It's starting to curl the paper, so it's trying to come up from the tape. I'm just kind of trying to press it down a little bit. What else can I do? Well, part of me wants to stop. Part of me wants to darken the indigo areas a tiny bit more, but I don't want to cover up the metallic bits that we have in here, and they're there. It's kind of hard to see, but there are some iridescent bits in there. It's really hard to see unless you're in person and can see the light that's hitting it from afar. It kind of disappears on camera. But in person, I can see it. At an angle, I can see it. But if I were to indigo this up some more, I would only be darkening up the center of all these blotchy areas. to make the clouds look a little bit darker. Oh no. See if that did it. Hi guys, welcome in. Yep, I'm just finishing up the second one. Sorry, I don't know if you heard any of that with this this heat gun on. I said, "Hi, goddess, welcome in," and this is the second one. The first one I did, I was experimenting with making like something nebula-esque on black paper, which I just dropped on the floor. 1 second. Oh, why is the floor so far away? Okay. I say like I'm 8 feet tall. This is the one I did on black paper with nothing but metallics. Just a kind of experiment, see how it looked. It's shimmery. And the one that I'm working on now, I started with just base watercolors and just picked like 3 colors to work with, and then some indigo around the edges. And I put this one here, which is the, I was going to say lilac, I don't think that's right. Jasmine yellow. I put some of that on top of a yellow that I did here to make it shimmer. I used this, is it plum? Yeah, plum purple over this section on top of a purple, a violet. And then the strawberry red I put on top of a red over here. I was trying to debate what, if anything, to do next, aside from just doing stars on it. Looking at it from this angle, it looked okay, but from this angle, you can see the directionality. I was kind of going in one direction with it. It's not bad. It's just, you can tell that I was playing within that direction. So, if I do anything else to it, I might do something else. Let me think. I have this Mars Black metallic. I might put a little bit on top of these sections to kind of let the indigo sections have some metallicness to it. I just try to do it all messy on top of it. Maybe it'll cloud it up a little bit. Maybe it'll also give them some reflectiveness from the metallics. Maybe I'll need more. And I do. There. A little kind of blobbing around in there. Get some going on this area. How are you doing today? It's a lovely Friday. Thursday, not Friday, Thursday. Where I got Friday from. I'm wishing it's Friday so that the week is over with for work. Anyway, Thursday, Thursday. Right. I think let's let's dry this, then make ourselves a well of some sort of white to get some stars on it so we can finish it. All right. Let's see. Did that did that improve it any? It's going up from the tape with the paper's curling. Yeah, I think that helped it a little bit. Added some reflective to the top of the indigo, so the whole thing has a bit of a sheen to it now. Let me let's get some stars. Stars always finish things off as well as peeling the tape. So let's get it taped down. Let us get some white going. This is a diamond white, I think they call it, from the metallic set. Right. Get a thin brush. I'll try some of this by itself, then I may add some acrylic white if I need some brighter white on here. Let's see. me rub this off. Try it. Right. Let's go ahead and peel this, and I think I'm going to put some more stars on here with a pen. And it makes me want to play Stardew. So the music is playing right now. Throw this. Get some coffee, because it's been a hot minute. So much of a hot minute that it was like a flavor explosion. Okay, probably dehydrated. This is the big one, right? Yeah, 108. 05. Yes, this is the big one. Okay. So let's get some stars on here, some bigger ones. not bad. Got ourselves some stars now. Wild how the color is way different in person. I mean, not way different, but enough different. The shimmery is really there. The purple really stands out. I don't think there's a way to really show you. I suppose I can do like I did last time and lift this one light up higher. Yeah, it doesn't work. It just makes it bright. At some point, I will figure out, should I do far more? Okay, how am I going to put this back? You go there, and you go there. Yeah, that'll work. At some point in the future, I will find a better way to be able to film metallics when they're being painted. Because figuring out, I think, the angle to see it is going to be difficult. Ultimately, I don't need to see it, the camera does, so I need to find a way to be able to get the same kind of perspective I'm getting where I can see it, but put the camera instead of my face. And then I'll just paint where I'm not seeing it, and I'll just look at the recording. But for now, it definitely has a really pretty shimmer when you catch it in the light just right. So pretty. But yeah, we got this one, and this guy from earlier. I think it did pretty good today. Tiny bit shorter than normal for me, but it's not too bad. Yeah. I think for the future, some of the metallics I want to do is going to be more... If you've ever seen anyone painting with metallics where they put it on top of a standard painting in areas to do like accents, like people do it on butterflies a lot that they paint. I don't think I'm going to be painting any butterflies anytime soon, but the idea, you know, of doing a thin sketch brush or something really thin and narrow on top of something else using metallics to make those lines pop versus the whole thing or being blobby or just in sections. It's harder to see this. It might be easier to see it when it's like laser focused, right? So that's probably when I'll use them the most. That and this set is fairly expensive, so I don't want to overuse it. You can already see from just painting twice, there's some little divots, wells, where you can see where I've eaten away at using what I've got already from just two paintings. And these are half pans, so they're very tiny for like 28 bucks. So I'm gonna try to preserve these and use them when I need them, hopefully for years to come. So I'm gonna go ahead and close it up, keep it safe. And yeah, I think that'll be it. Monday, I don't know. I don't fully know what I want to do for next week. As usual, I'll come up with it on the fly, like I usually do. I'll try to come up with something useful and pretty and genuine. One of the things that I've been thinking about has been doing like a back to basics kind of thing for me. I feel like I learned some basic things through tutorials at first, of course, right? As you do, just to get the basics down for what I'm doing. But I skimmed past that into tutorials for doing objects, like practicing flowers and trees and stuff like that. And then I moved on to trying to do nebula, and I haven't looked back from that in abstract, which is nice. I do like abstract. I'm kind of like the abstract king, I guess. I can't even say that. I'm like the abstract, like, what do you call someone who's like 200 down the line from getting the throne? Like, it would take that much to get me to king status. But let's just say I like abstract more because it's easy to let loose. But I should get back to basics and at least know, wow, I actually got something that thankfully it was blocked. It was held, but I got one of those spammers. And it had 4 of the keywords. At least it automatically blocked it and showed me that, so that's fun. It's been a while. Anywho, yeah, I want to go back to basics. I want to kind of now that I've been doing this long enough to be more confident in what little I know, it's time to increase what I know, I think. So I'm going to try to figure out at some point, it may not be Monday, but soon, I'll try to find some tutorials online, or some online classes, or even print classes, just something to go back to basics and learn how to make shapes, how to do shadows, how to mix colors, what the color wheel is, and how everything relates to everything else. Just all the things that you should know that you would learn in like art classes. I can't say art school because that's too complicated for me. And I'm really only focused on watercolors, so something laser focused on that. And just to enhance some of my foundation, because I think if I have a better foundation with some of that, I'll be able to just go wild more easily, because I'll probably learn how to restrain myself and make sure I only do the things that are necessary. So who knows, Monday might be a free-for-all, where I just do what I want, you know, as I do. But if not, hey, I've also got that fun little wheel that I made a long time ago and used once, where I can just spin it and do random stuff. That's here. I hadn't even thought about opening that up. That's still up, or did it just get deleted from not using it? Let's find it. Wheel, 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 wheel. Editor, spin the wheel. There it is. Yeah, it's still there. Yeah. Was there a full screen for it? I think so. I don't think there was. But I mean, I don't care. It can be shown. Oh, wait, there it is. There it is. Full screen. And then... There it is. Yeah, this wheel. So worst case, I've got this guy, and I've put some things on here that were like little challenges slash tutorials that I can run, and I can always add more to this list, and then just spin it and let chance make a decision for me. Hey Desert, welcome in. Yeah, so I can always do something like that and then practice. Like this one's on practicing shadows, right? So I can add things to this and just follow what fate gives me, or I can just come up with my own back to basics tutorials that I need to run for myself. Let me hide this again. Okay. So yeah, I might do something like that just to kind of make myself do the thing, right? You know? Aside from that, this is what I worked on today. So you can see Desert. I worked on some nebula using some of the metallic watercolors. The one on black paper was entirely nothing but metallics. The one on white is a combination of traditional watercolors as like a base foundation, and then some of the metallics on top of it. So that the whole thing, it's kind of hard to see in the camera, but the whole thing has a kind of shimmer to it. That's kind of hard to see. There's a hint of it there. It looks way better in person because from my perspective, I can see the purples and everything. It's just weird that it doesn't come up well. I guess you really have to have the light at the right angles for it. So, yep, they're fun, they're random, they're crazy, they're all over. They're me. They're barely watercoloring. It's in my name. It's my reality. So, yeah, that's it. I think I'm going to stop there. I normally go like 2.5 hours, and that's like another 20 minutes, but I have nothing to do, and I don't want to just yammer because I'll just jibber jabber for too long about nothing. So yeah, I think I'll stop there for now. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. There's all the watercolory things. I'm a tired boy. Well, had a good time sneaking in during meeting. Awesome, thank you. How late do you work? 6 o'clock right now? Are you like a evening shift, or it just varies, I guess, during the week? It's rough. Meetings, they suck. There's no other word for it. They suck. They're useful to a degree, and then they just waste time. Varies, yeah. No, I get it. It is what it is. What can you do? You just suffer through it. Okay, I'm done. If I keep sitting here, I'm just going to get more and more tired and really just space out. So I'm going to end. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on this glorious Thursday. I almost said Friday again. Yep. Have a great night, guys. Again, my name is Bear. I've definitely been barely watercoloring today. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna head out. Have a good night. Bye.